Right. How's it going, everybody? I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for coming on this one. It's a new link than what we normally do, so we might see some people kind of straggle in, but that's okay. We're going to be going over just DocuSign today, kind of the essentials of it as far as getting it set up, first of all, right? But then also just using it for our e-signatures, and then kind of taking it a step further to make templates. Taking those documents that we're using every time and trying to streamline that process a little bit. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to go ahead and open up KW command because that's where all of this kind of starts. With KW, you do get that free DocuSign account. Leave it in the chat if you've already got that connected, just so I can kind of get a general gauge of it. But if you haven't gotten it set up yet, we're going to have to start inside of KW. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's go ahead and go right over to KW command. Let's see, I was in the designs making the background. So let's back out here. And so agent.kw.com, this is our homepage, right? We should all be familiar with this part, at least logging in. And then to get to our settings, right? So we're going to hit the drop down on our name here. Okay. And then we're going to go to our settings. And then we're going to scroll down this list a little bit. So check it out. I'm going to disconnect it. So we're going to scroll down until we see this digital signature and transactions. And there's going to be a spot for DocuSign. Okay. And so all we have to do is just hit connect account here. And then it'll prompt us to see like where we want that to be sent. Okay. So our name and then the email. So this is the email that we're going to be like signing in with. So we want to make sure that this is accurate. It's the one that we want to use. If we're good with that, we're just going to hit send registration email. All right. I already have one set up, so it's not going to give me what I want here. Let's just say like Hotmail. Boom. So we send that off. All right, and it's going to spin, it's going to think, and it'll send out an email. And so at that point, right, we have to actually just go into our email itself, follow the link, because it's actually just going to have us set up, a new credential. So we'll have to enter in a password, set up a security question, but we just kind of want to follow those prompts. All we're looking for is to get that email and password that allows us to go into DocuSign. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's say that we did that part, right? So we went over to DocuSign, set up our credentials. And so we're actually going to need to come back into command to kind of complete the process. So once you have that credential, you can definitely log in and use the account. But to connect it back to command, we want to come back in here and hit authorize. It's going to try to do this, but essentially when we hit authorize, it's going to make sure that you created the account. And then if all things go well, you should see it go automatically. If you run into any trouble, this is what we're going to do, where all we're looking for is this login here. So you might have to hit, resend email, create a different account, but we're just looking for this login. Once we're able to log in, it doesn't matter what kind of trouble we've ran into. As long as we have that credential, we're going to be able to connect this. So I'm going to hit that, type in the password that I had set up. See, I hope you guys are seeing that. Perfect. Log in, and then that's how we know we've done it, where it's connected, and then the only option is to disconnect the account. That's how we know that we've kind of completed that setup, and then it's now linking to command. Let's see, any questions there? It's a little bit self-explanatory, but let's see, what if it already has your email? So let's see, if you want to either type in the chat or speak up.
Yeah, Blake, it already has the email. Good morning.
Morning.
It already has the email, so the user with this email already registered in DocuSign. Mm-hmm. So is it mixed up from a prior DocuSign? Because right now it won't let you log in at all.
Right. Okay, so have you created the account in DocuSign already, or in command already?
I did hit in command, but I never received an email with the password and authorization. So it never got to the point where it allowed me to authorize.
Gotcha. Okay, so we could either look through the email for that, or what we do is go actually onto DocuSign.net itself, which is kind of a good point for this. So like if we go, not on command, but DocuSign.net itself. This is how we can kind of control what's going on here, right? So if we sign in as a different user, maybe enter in that email right here, see what happens. So let's say you enter in your email, continue, and then see what happens here, but then you could always hit forgot password, right? And so just try to reset it, try to just get it back to the baseline where you can create those credentials.
Okay.
Because as soon as you have them, then it's just getting this connected on DocuSign. So my guess is that there are credentials out there somewhere, or there's something that's kind of lingering. And so we just have to finish that off.
Okay.
Let's see, anybody else have any issues with that? Let's see, I'm gonna look through here.
Sorry, just a quick question, Blake. Generally, how do we get on in the first place? I was still trying to log back in.
Cool, no worries. Yeah, it was a super quick kind of setup process there. So we're going into command, right?
Okay.
So agent.kw.com, and then just in the settings. So we're gonna hit the drop down on your name, settings, and then we'll see DocuSign as one of these applications to connect. So if we're coming in for the first time, it's gonna say connect more. Let's see, so I'll disconnect here. So it's gonna look like this, where we just have to connect account, and then it's going to send you a registration email. So that's kind of like what prompts you to then follow it.
I see. So it was command.kw.com and then from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Cool. Let's see. Any other questions on that setup there? Any other issues? Anybody have a DocuSign account that they're currently paying for? No. Okay, perfect. We might run into some issues there if you already have an existing account.
Hey, Blake.
Lewis, what's up?
So I do have an account that I've been paying for.
Okay.
So when you set this up, so I just went in, and that's why I wasn't speaking, is because I just went in to set up the KW one. It was through my other email.
Okay.
So now that I have a DocuSign set up with this email, will that just be like the one I already had, just already through command?
So it's going to be a little bit different. So this is like a corporate account. So it's attached to KW, and it has the special feature of DocuSign Rooms. So essentially, when you did you use the same password by chance?
I think so.
Okay, so if you use the exact same email and password as your personal account, whenever you log in or try to authorize, you're going to be given two options. So it'll either be your original account or this paid corporate one. And so you'll kind of see the distinction. One of them will be linked to like Keller Williams Realty. So you're just going to want to make sure that you click into that one.
So do you think, like, honestly, is it just better to continue having the paid one for individual?
No, I wouldn't. Needless expense at this point, because
so if I was just to log on to Zipform, instead of going through command to do anything, just to go onto Zipform and send e-signatures out through this account, that would be totally possible.
Totally valid. Yeah, It's going to work. Yeah, see, and that's the cool thing about this. So there is like that special integration with DocuSign Rooms, but at the end of the day, this is just a regular DocuSign account. So I'll log in like on DocuSign.net here, and we're just going to see like the regular e-signature service. I'm gonna make that distinction right here. So I log in, and then we just see like the regular dashboard that we're familiar with. You know, we're able to create envelopes here. We're able to integrate this into other, software like Zipforms. It's going to work exactly the same way that yours does now. The only difference is you're not going to have to pay for it. Sweet. So what I've seen people do with this is if you have kind of documents that you don't want to totally get rid of right now, you could keep yet that account and just reduce it to a free. So you still have access, and then you can treat it almost like an archive. So if you ever needed anything there, it's available, but everything's now going through this new DocuSign account, if that makes sense. All good?
I'll try it now. Yeah, thank you.
Mind if I, hey, Blake, how's it going? It's Brian Pincus.
How's it going?
Hey, good, how are you?
Good.
Cool. So you and I talked about this a long time ago. So I actually do have, I don't think I ever turned off my old DocuSign account. But I do, like when I go, it's like log in and there's like, which one do you want? And it says Keller Williams Beverly Hills, and it says Keller Williams Realty. And I don't know which, I guess the one that has all my old stuff is probably, that's Keller Williams Beverly Hills. That's what you're saying. I should turn to a free account. Must be the one I'm paying for.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So you'll see, probably put Keller Williams Beverly Hills as like the company when you did that initial setup. All of these corporate accounts are branded Keller Williams Realty.
Got it.
It's really nuanced. And if you've seen the screen, you'll know. But so it's like the account is NA3. That's the personal one. And then these corporate accounts, they're a little bit longer where it's like NAU-3. It's that makes no sense unless you've seen it. But the two options, one of them is a little bit longer. That's the corporate account.
Okay. So yeah, I think that makes sense. So yeah, NA3 is what the corporate one seems to say, and NA2 is the one that I had.
There we go.
So cool. Okay, so I'm logging into that one right now. Then hopefully this will all. Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Perfect. Yeah. And so not only when we log in, but definitely when we authorize things as well, we'll probably be given that choice, specifically in Command, but probably in zip forms as well. So we just want to make sure we're choosing that right option. All right. So now that we're here, just to kind of give an overview of kind of this e-signature service for those that haven't used it before, this is like the standard DocuSign unlimited package. So we're able to manage any kind of envelopes that we're sending out. So we could create new envelopes where we're packaging together documents, putting on place fields and having people sign. I'm sure that we've all done some kind of form of this. So I'm going to show it in kind of a bigger context through Command, but just wanted to kind of reiterate that this is available. Also, if we ever use templates, and this is what we're going to dive into a little bit, these templates that we set up from the e-signature service are 100% available on this back end. So anything that you do here is going to be applicable. As far as templates go, right, we're able to create our own, but we can also upload our own templates. So if anybody's sharing any, specifically, I'm going to give you a link to this one here for KW disclosures, but we can kind of manage our library here just to make the actual process of document management a little bit easier on the back end. So hopefully I'm not losing anybody here, but what I'm trying to do is just kind of have these placeholders set up to make everything just go a little smoother. So let's do an example of this actually. I think this is kind of a good starting point. So we're going to do a template for the new PED form, right? Because I'm sure there's been a lot kind of back and forth there. So we're going to use, let's say, and create a new template. And then, by the way, so please feel free to cut me off, ask questions. If this gets confusing at any point, please feel free to chime in. Or otherwise, just leave questions in the chat, and I'll be sure to kind of circle around.
Hey, Blake, is this screen in Command too, or is it only on the DocuSign?
Yeah, so right now, I'm just looking at DocuSign.
Okay, so it's on Command. Okay, thank you.
Definitely, yeah. So I'm just using that same credential. And so I'm going to come into my templates. I'm trying to create a new one here. So let's see. Okay, so this is kind of the template for, yeah, exactly. Yeah, a new template. So I'm going to name it. And so let's just call this PED form. We can add a description if we want. And then right here is where we're actually just going to upload our documents. So what I did ahead of time here, I went into the public folder that we have, which is bit.ly/KW Beverly Hills. And then in here, Michael has actually added a whole bunch of COVID-19 disclosures and addendums. Or Alfredo, my bad. I didn't mean to kind of disservice Alfredo's work there. My mistake. So Alfredo uploaded these amazing disclosures into this folder here. And so if we click into them, we have these broker signed versions of the PED form, the best practices, anything that we need here. So I went ahead and just downloaded one. And so all I have to do is now go through my computer. So I just hit upload, and then I can bring that in. Let me see if I can find it here. Perfect. All right, so we're bringing in the form, and then we can come down and kind of set the people that are actually going to be signing. And so this is how we're going to be setting our placeholders. So let's make this a little bit more specific. So let's go PED form. Let's see. So help me out here. So has anybody used these PED forms yet? Anybody?
No. No.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you get them right when you have a buyer and you're going to show property?
Yes. And yeah, and when you're the listing agent, and that's your responsibility to make sure everyone signs it too.
So on both sides, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's do this then. So let's have two templates, one for sellers and then one for buyers. That way it's really easy just to kind of make that difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and change this to PED form for the buyers. All right, and then we're gonna come down to this recipients. And so we're gonna start to assign kind of just who these people are. We don't have to be specific here yet. So I'm gonna put role, let's just say buyer 1. All right, they need to sign, and I'm gonna add a recipient. Let's say this buyer 2. And I'm gonna add one more role, and that's gonna be more for us. So this is buyer agent, buyer's agent. Perfect. So since we're just setting the template, we don't need to do names and emails here yet. We just kind of want to leave that blank because we want to leave it a little bit more generic. So once I have those roles assigned, all I want to do is just top right corner, hit next. And then we're going to be brought to this screen where we see the document, and then we're actually going to be able to move things over and get it filled out. So we look around. Let's just go and take care of the initials and signatures first. So let's scroll down this document. It's only 2 pages, so we're going to be okay. So signer's initials here. So we're going to come over, and we see this box on the top left corner where it says buyer 1. That's how we know who's assigned. So whenever we put down, let's say a signature, it's going back to buyer 1. So if we hit this drop down, buyers 2, buyer's agent, that's how we kind of assign different signatures and fields, just for those who've never done this. So I'm going to go into buyer 1. We'll start there. And then I'm going to pick this initial. Click on it, go and hover over the spot, and then just drop it in place. If the sizing's a little bit off, we could definitely take this in, shrink it down, but it's probably all good. And then we just go down the list and do that for every field that we need. All right, so we'll go buyers 2, initial. Let's see, help me out here. Do the agents put the initial on this line here?
So it's just the entrance. Whoever's going to be showing up that day,
Gotcha.
You need to have them initial. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the agent
if
signs
you're
at the
going
bottom.
with them,
Cool.
right. But if you're going with them, then yes. If you're not, then no.
Okay, so let's just go and put it in there anyway. I guess you can kind of make that distinction if you want to take it off or not. But since it's the agent, we'll leave it on. So we'll go down a little bit. You could do this kind of on the fly. So if there's anything you need to add custom, but just for the sake of a template, we'll scroll down here. So let's get this filled out. We can actually use the same fields to just kind of have it filled in. So when we see name, we can just come over and hit name here. That way it just kind of populates in. So we'll do that. Let's do a signature. Then we'll put a date signed. Just going down. Pretty simple.
The trick, by the way, just you need to get one. I mean, if you're doing it the same day, that's cool, but you want to pretty much get your PED forms done in advance. So the date signed has to be the date that you're entering. So you need to actually, you need to put I manually put a text field there with the date.
I like that. Okay, so maybe we'll go with that, right? So instead of having it timestamped, we could come down here and hit text and then place that there. Yeah. So that way we're just a little bit more.
Good point.
Do it. Cool.
It's annoying. PED forms are rough, but yes, this is very helpful.
So then we see these check boxes, right? So to kind of signify who's signing. So we can use these check boxes here. Okay, so we put them over the field that we want. So in this case, broker agent. And then we actually just hit the space bar to check that box. So normally what we could do with these check boxes is kind of leave it for whoever is signing this to fill out themselves. But in a case like this, we'll just go ahead and check that box. And then this is important. We see over on the right side here, this read only. If we check that box, this can't be changed. So we're not leaving it to them to, whether it's checked or not. We're just kind of saying on this document, this is what it is. And so we can match that up here exactly. So we'll go back over to buyer 1. All right, and then we'll go same thing, name, signature, checkbox for buyer. All right. Hit space to check it, and hit read only so they can't change it. And so then how about we do this? So for the date, instead of them, having to type anything in, we're gonna leave this up to the agent. So this text box, it's purple, which means that it's up to the agent. So I'm actually just going to copy and then paste, just so I have another one, right? And that's kind of a little shortcut for any of these boxes. Copying and pasting kind of speeds up the process exponentially. We could have always gone back to buyer's agent and added another text box, but that's just kind of a little shortcut there. So let's finish.
If it's helpful, by the way, what I often do is I'll put in like where you have full name at the very first one you did, where you put full name, sign, and then if you put text there, you can copy, like drag your cursor over all three and then copy and paste, and it'll paste all three at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, that's by far like one of my favorite tricks here. So
I love it.
Like everything, copy, paste, right? So then you can move it all down. And then there's actually a keyboard shortcut. This is a little bit overkill, but there's a keyboard shortcut to flip through the fields. So I think it's like Shift, Command, period, and comma. Hang on, let me go here.
Didn't know that. That's awesome.
Shift, Command, period. And so you can flip through all the different,
That's amazing.
That's my favorite thing. I'll go crazy with that. So
do you know what the PC shortcut would be?
Yeah, I think it's the same actually.
Okay, so like Shift, probably like Windows icon, whatever.
Let me look at my keyboard. Shift Alt. That's what it is.
Shift Alt. Okay, cool.
Alt, period,
Thank
and
you.
comma.
That's great.
That was handy to have that there.
Super.
All right, so we have all that done, right? So then we'll go one more text box, copy and paste it. Perfect. Looks good. Let's see, would this be? This is on the other side, so nothing to do there. Let's see, we go down, we have our best practices. Just want to make sure I'm not missing any fields here. Okay, right here. Okay, so we'll start off buyer's agent, right? So we're gonna go initial. And then buyer tenant lease. So let's switch down to buyer one. Hit that initial. And we'll do it here. We'll go copy paste. And then shift command period. That's how we can do that. If that was too confusing, just go drop down buyer two. And then put that initial there. All right, can I get a sign off? Everything look okay there?
Great.
Perfect. All right, so once we've kind of completed the document, we've assigned all those fields. That's it. That's all we have to do. So I'm actually just going to hit save and close.
Wait, can I ask you a quick question?
Please do.
So I usually do I guess, I don't know if it's the traditional route or what you can call it. I just go to new, start new envelope, and that's how I do it. But are there benefits of doing it as a template?
Definitely. So the biggest benefit is not having to place those fields. So are you doing that by chance where you're using the same ones every time? Or like placing those initials and
every single time?
Yeah.
Like a page by page?
Yeah. Is that what you're doing now?
Yes.
So yeah, using a template is kind of avoiding that. So I'm going to show you this workflow right here and how easy it's going to be.
Okay.
What a segue. I'm glad you brought that up, Jasmine. So this is how we're going to make it easier for you, actually. So let's go ahead and jump into command. All right. And so we've already connected the DocuSign. We've set up.
You didn't tell people that we're working together?
Oh, yeah, right.
I was meant to ask that question. Remember? I'm kidding.
All right. Let's see. All right. So we're going to start in our opportunities because that's really kind of where this starts, right? So if we're showing property, that's an active buyer. So ideally, we've come in and we've assigned an active buyer to this opportunity. So let's just do that real quick. We got a dog in here. Let's create that opportunity. Then listing type is for a buyer, obviously, right? And then for client, we search through our database. And as long as we've entered them into our contacts, they're going to show up here. So I got my guy Alfredo, opportunity name, totally good to go. Commission rate, 2.5. We had to haggle. He was a little bit stingy. And then we can go into the stage. or phase active, and then stage, we can make this whatever, showing negotiations, right? Obviously at this point, we're probably showing property. And so we can hit create. And so now as long as we have this set up, right, it's always accessible from the contact view. But when we go to documents, right, and so maybe we're not to the point where we're actually uploading, you know, RPAs or any kind of disclosures yet, but we can still hit start a transaction. Hang tight with me. I've actually got to connect the DocuSign account real quick. What a great example. So we're going to go back into our settings, go down to DocuSign, connect the account. Since I already have it set up, I'm just going to hit log in. We should be good to go here. Let me authorize. I'll say this too. This is something that I've noticed on Macs, where if something tries to authorize and nothing happens, look up in your URL bar, because odds are something was probably blocked, like a pop-up. So if something seems missing, it's kind of a good place to look. So let's go back into our opportunity for Alfredo, right? The one we just created. We go to the document section. And now that we have that DocuSign hooked up, we now have the ability to start a transaction, right? So this is just on the documents tab. And then when I hit start a transaction, this is actually going to take me to the separate part we're talking about, where it's DocuSign rooms. And so this is like real estate specific transaction management. So everything that we do in this room now is going to be associated specifically with that opportunity. It just makes everything a lot cleaner, especially when we come to have a lot more documents involved. So let's see, any questions there before we go? Let me check the chat. Can the date auto-populate? Yes. So I think, Susan, we can definitely do the date field there, and then it'll just be timestamped. The reason that we used a text field just for that PEAT form specifically was just like Brian had mentioned. So we're doing it for the date that we're actually entering the property. Just so if
Blake,
advance.
Blake, Blake.
What you got, John?
I had a question. I'm sorry. How do you upload the document to the command?
We're gonna get there.
Oh, you're gonna get that later? Okay.
We're coming.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So now that we've created this, right? So we can manage our documents here. We could add more in. But if we look at this envelopes tab here, boom, envelopes, we can actually create a new one and kind of start a package. So let's hit create new. And then what I can do is, rather than pull in new documents, I just hit use a template. All right. So I use a template. It's going to pull up what I was just working on. And so PEAT form for a buyer, we add the selected. And now it's kind of queued up. So we see that that's already there. And so now all we have to do is come in and add recipients. And so
wow, this is amazing. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm glad. And so we're going to add a recipients, and we're going to use these pre-tagged roles. And so that's what's going to kind of reference back to this. So if we're using that template, right? So we're going to mark our buyer 1, and then we select who that is. All right. So we actually see, since we have that opportunity connected to our contacts, it pulled in Alfredo's email already. So I can select that. If we had another buyer, we can pull them in here, or I just do buyer's agent and then select myself. All right, Blake Petska. All right, add selected. Boom, now we got them queued up. So the other note on this screen is just right here, the message to the recipients. This is gonna be the subject in the email that actually shows up in the inbox. So if you wanna customize this, make it a little bit more personal, that's where we could do it. So we could say, please DocuSign showing PEA.
Mind if I jump in with one quick thing, Blake? Brian?
Let's hear it.
Yeah, so just, this is not related to exactly what you're saying at this very moment, but if you go where it says, please DocuSign, a couple of years ago, maybe when our lawyers were making a presentation to the class or during a team meeting,
yeah,
they said, always manually, it was Jeff, I think, who said it, Jeff Kahn, he said, always manually change the word DocuSign to review. So please review. And
okay.
that's just like, and I called DocuSign once, by the way, talked to their customer service, and there was no way that they could make that a default template kind of thing. Yeah, unfortunately. But every time I send a DocuSign, I change it to please review because it covers your butt just a little bit more. You're not asking to actually, you're not saying sign this, you're saying please review this. and then they can sign it if they want to.
They have the option. Okay, I like that. So let's go please review. And so actually, we can do, so not permanently to the system, but for this template specifically, when we were setting this up at the beginning, we can actually choose what that message is by default. So we could change it to please review. So it won't be an all the time thing, but at least when we're using our templates, we won't have to worry about that. So I like that. So we'll go please review, showing PED form. PED?
Cool.
It's all good. All right. Once we have all this lined out, we're going to be good to go. So top right corner right here, we're going to hit next.
Blake, for this PED form, you're assuming that there is 2 buyers, right? Because that's what you tagged it.
So with the template, we kind of set the maximum. So we set placeholders for at least 2 buyers. But if there's only 1, we don't have to use that second field. So check it out. So on this form where everything is populated, you see there should have been something else there for buyer 2. But since we don't have a buyer 2 in the scenario, it just go ahead and it leaves it all off.
Oh, so when you create a template, always assume.
Yeah, leave the most space, but then you won't have to actually use that many when you come back to it.
Okay, but then if there's 3 buyers, for example, you would have to create a template for 3 buyers.
Yeah.
Right?
You use your template for 2, and then you add an additional one. Or
isn't the max only 3 people, 2 people plus the agent? I don't think you can put more people in the showing.
Yeah, that's true.
Might be.
Say that one more time, sorry.
There's only 2 people, 2 clients plus an agent that can go inside. So I don't think you can even put more people in there.
Yeah, no, I've been doing multiple forms for that, which is definitely annoying. But yeah.
Definitely.
So if you have more than 3 people entering at a time, you have to do multiple PED forms.
Gotcha. Okay. A little bit nuanced there, but we kind of see probably for most common use, this will be just fine. So then we just have to make any changes if we need to. So if we're doing the date, we could change this text. So we just add the text there. Let's say we're doing it for tomorrow, 06. I don't even know what today is. It's the 10th, so it's 11/20, right? And so we could fill that one in too, or just copy and paste that actual date. Read only, or locked in. And we scroll down the rest of it, it should be totally fine. All right, and then I can just hit send off.
Awesome.
And so now it's super cool. So we can be prompted to sign it now, sign it later. But now, whenever this form is completed, so Alfredo gets it in his inbox and he completes it, it's actually just going to show up on this Documents tab. So we'll kind of have like a completed signed version just readily available. And this kind of goes into the other parts too, where anything that's in this room can now be directly kind of linked back to the opportunity. So if any kind of documents that we're coming into, when we add files, rather than just uploading manually, we can actually source from DocuSign and choose anything that we have in that folder. So it's really advantageous to kind of keep everything organized and just work out of one central place. So I actually do have another template for you, and that's the KWBH disclosures. So it works the exact same way, right? So we add these selected, add the template. And so this one, it actually has buyers and sellers on it. And so when I add recipients, we see we have all these options, but we don't have to do all of them, right? So maybe we're just working with the sellers. So we select our seller, Alfredo, and seller's agent. That's going to be me. And so it's just these 2. So even though there's 6 roles on my template, I'm only using the 2 of them. So when I add selected, hit next, after I change it to please review, and then I come back to this part and everything's already going to be there, right? We're going to see our seller's signature, the seller's initials, boom, and then fields that we have to sign as well. My template's messed up. I messed that up, but we're going to be all good there. And so I'll say this is the last part, is the property address. So this is pretty much going to have to filled in as we go, right? There's no template that we could do to predict which address we're going to use. And so the best way to do this is actually to create a custom field. And so if there's anything that you don't see here that you want to use, we can actually come down to this box on the side for custom fields and then kind of create our own. So if I create a custom field, I can actually use this as like my address. So let's say name, let's call this Maryland, address, text, and then the value, right? So ideally I'm typing in, the official property address that I'm getting from Google Maps. So Maryland Ave, Los Angeles, 90046. Okay, so this is read only. Then I can choose the format. So I can actually get it to match, what like car forms look like. So I can go Arial, font color, navy blue, font size 9, bold, italicize. And now this is going to look really official, right? It's going to look like we got it out of zip forms almost. So we hit save. And so now we have kind of all of our custom fields lined up here. We can definitely adjust these, but now at any point I hit Maryland address and I can add it to my documents. So then it's really easy just to come down the line here. No copying and pasting, no retyping in every time. All we have to do is assign it to those fields.
Blake, this is being recorded, right?
Yes.
Is there is it possible to access this again? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, Alfredo's actually done a really good job. All of these previous command sessions, as well as some other ones, are uploaded on a YouTube channel. So as soon as this one's done recording, I'm going to get it over there. And then I'm just going to make sure that this gets shared on the KW agents page.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, and so one more thing I'm going to note here. So we talked about that bit.ly. I'm going to leave it in the chat. bit.ly. Let's see. bit.ly/KW Beverly Hills. All right, so that public folder, I've actually included a template. All right, so let's go. KWBH resources is where that initial spot is. And then my take command folder, I included this zip folder with my KWBH disclosures template. So you can open this up, download this file here, and then actually go into your DocuSign templates. Let's go back to DocuSign.
Blake, are you sharing your screen right now?
I thought I was, but it's a good chance that I'm not. So thank you for saying something. Yeah. All right, you got me. Okay, so oh gosh. All right, so inside of this KWBH resources folder, all right, so we have this take command. This is where I have all my command resources. So I just added this zip folder with the KWBH disclosures. So if you come in here and you download this, you're actually going to be able to take it over to your DocuSign account. Give it a second, give it a second.
There's lots of loopholes.
What's that?
There's lots of, I guess, I don't know if you would call it loopholes, but tricks or.
Definitely, yeah. No, I feel like everybody just kind of scratches the surface of what DocuSign can do. But if you go deep, there's a lot of cool features here. And so on the e-signature side, we go to our templates, right, where we manage everything. If I hit new and I hit upload, I'm actually going to be given the choice to choose which template. So I go my DocuSign template. See, I think that was a zip folder. We'll see if that works there. I might get an error. But so download that folder from the drive and then upload it here. And then you can actually just use it the same way. All right, so here we go. KWBH disclosures. And now they're all set.
Can you put that link in the chat by any
Yeah,
chance?
definitely. Let's see, I'll do it one more time.
Oh, if you already did?
This link. This one will be easier.
That specific one.
I got you. Cool. And then I'll go ahead and upload the template for this form that I just did. If there's any, we need a seller one now. So if anybody wants to send it to me and I can get it up here too.
Thank you.
Kind of just think about this as a way to so if releases even, the same forms that we're doing every single time, we can make it really easy to come in and just set that up so that we're a couple clicks away from having this all the way filled out. I think that's really kind of a big disconnect of why people aren't using this DocuSign kind of in the room service. There's definitely easier ways to go about this. But if we put in this work initially to set up our templates and kind of form our systems, With the way that emails feed from command to DocuSign rooms, and we could share documents and get signatures, it all kind of flows together and makes it a lot easier. And then ultimately, right, when we're coming into our opportunities to submit our paperwork, which is the end goal, it makes it really easy to now kind of manage those documents. So that's my big takeaway here. Any questions that I could maybe cover here?
On the templates, when you create them in DocuSign, let's say for a transaction, and you want to put the contracts in, but they don't have addresses or any information, will it allow you to do that? Because usually they want you to have some information, like when you print. You run into that same problem when putting the templates in blank.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I did there, where I left the address off, right? I was just kind of dealing with the signature fields. So it's when I'm going through and actually, sending it out to my actual client, that's when I made that custom field for the address, just so I could, easily put it in.
Right, but the templates are coming out of car forms, the documents. So you want to download blank forms. Are you able to do that?
Oh, gotcha. Oh, so this is something cool. And so to that point, right, if it's something that we're taking from car forms and we've customized it, we've added names, we can make our templates just to match those documents that are there, right? So if we create this template and then we download forms from zip forms and then upload them to DocuSign, do we see right here where it says eligible for matching, included in matching? This is pretty much taking those fields and it'll recognize the documents that you're uploading. So if, for the 10-page lease and the bedbug disclosure, you have a template for that. When you download the form from zip forms and put it into your DocuSign, it's going to recognize what it is and actually assign those fields for you. So you can customize your form and then still take advantage of that DocuSign template, right? I hope that makes sense.
And it will take it. Can you show how to bring that from car forms into there? Are you able to do that?
I can't do it right now. I don't have that access here. What I could do though is kind of show this off where, let's go to transaction. Bear with me here. Envelopes. So let's say we create a new envelope. And so we took it from car forms and we downloaded it. So I'm kind of working from the assumption that we already have it on our computer. All right. So we can upload documents. So let's say we bring it in. Let me find. All right. So then right here. So once the document's in, we can hit apply template. And then we can choose which one. So this is PED form buyer, add selected. So even though, we're using our own form, we're still able to take advantage of, let's see, buyer one, using those fields. So even though we brought in the document separately, we can still kind of use the same system. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Perfect. So you can make your template based off of something that's maybe already filled out, but then in the future, when you go back to use it, you can use whatever form you want. Cool.
Hey, Blake, would you mind putting the link to the YouTube channel where this is going to be posted in the chat?
Definitely. Let me see if I can pull that up here.
Thanks.
Oh, actually, they're all private, huh?
No, there's not. I'll send you. I'll text you like right now.
Find that. See, I don't know if we have it handy. I'm going to have Alfredo put it on the Facebook right now, though.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
All right. I'm so sorry. I think I'm actually going to have to cut this one short. I'm running into some issues here with my laptop, but this one's going to be recorded, so definitely look back on it. I'll make sure that everybody gets notified once this goes live. And then definitely take a look in that Google Drive folder for the templates if you want to take advantage of that. Other than that, come back next week, and I have a regional webinar tomorrow, 9 a.m., going over social media post scheduling through command. Really excited for that one. But otherwise, send me an email if you have any questions. I appreciate you guys coming out.
Cool.
Thank you, Blake.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.